Yay, welcome to Three Keys to Conquering Your Fears. I'm so excited that you are here with me. And we've got a chat, so feel free to post some questions. I'll do my best as I'm presenting to get to your questions and be able to kind of answer them as we're going. I may answer them a little bit towards the end. And I know you got your email. I asked you a question. I also gave you access to the September activation calendar. So I'm hoping that you were able to download that. And if not, I will put that in the chat. And it'll also be in the email for you guys to receive. And so this is just giving you a preview of what's coming up this month in the way of energies. Okay, so that's posted. I'll share that again if you need it. But for now, let's just dive right in. So I'm really excited that you're here. And I want to congratulate you for being here because we all lead really busy lives. There's so much on our plates. There's a lot to do. Today's actually a very highly energetic day. It's one of the best days that we've had all year. So there's so much that you could be doing, and you're investing this time right now to come to this particular call and be here, be present, and learn about fear and how you can create change in your life and conquer fear. My name's Alana Heim, and I'm the owner of Prosperity Alignment. I'm a 1-3 projector. When you're looking at human design, that's my energy type and my profile. I do have an emotional authority. I've got my chart here so you can kind of see my design and whether or not you can compare it to your chart or other charts with people that you're around, or even just listen and learn who I am as I teach. And you'll be able to see me dance in my head, maybe even go down into my emotional energy here. I am an author. I wrote the chapter Money in the Abundance by Design Human Design book. And then I recently wrote the chapter Take Control of Your Financial Well-Being and What's Money Got to Do with It. My background includes being a CPA and a financial planner for over 15 years. And really, there was so much fear that I dealt with around money. And we're not necessarily going to go into the money piece today, but we will on Tuesday's call. And we're going to talk about that financial frequency of fear and how that plays. But I saw fear come up a lot with my clients and then also in my life, right? I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 3 children. This is Hazel and Hunter. They're my generator twins, and they're 5 years old. Taylor is a projector, and she's 11. So we have lots of changes going on as my children are growing. Hazel and Hunter are still growing into their energy. And as a parent, we can have fear about raising our children and thinking we're not good enough, fearing that we're going to get it wrong, we're going to mess them up in some way, right? Or fear that something's going to happen to them or happen to our family. We have these fears. What we really want to understand and learn is, where did they come from? Why are they here? What are they teaching me? And if I'm living in fear and thinking, oh no, I don't want my child to get hurt, am I holding them back from living life, right? Am I not letting them play the sports for fear of them getting injured? And really on the flip side, what is it they're missing out on just because of my fear? And when we live in fear, it's an energy that others can pick up on. And we know this. We can feel it everywhere we go. The world has been conditioning us to feel fear, to use fear, to live in fear. When we go to the doctor, you have to do this or else. Dun, dun, dun. The bad, the death, or whatever it may be, right? We immediately think of worst case scenario. When we deal with money, same thing. What if there's not enough money? What if I can't feed my family? What if we run out and we have to go live on the streets? What if, what if? All of these fears end up coming in. And that's where I realized with my experience and using human design, I love diving into the fear because I have this center undefined. More and more as I've made shifts in my evolution, growing into leaving my industry and starting a business with young kids, right? Everybody's fears were projected onto me and I could feel them. I could feel these fears that were constantly in my face, right up against me. But because I had been working on aligning with who I am and knowing my truth, trusting myself, the fears didn't stick to me. The fears came, but I could, kind of use the force and deflect and keep them at bay. So they didn't come in and take over my decision-making process. And so really that's what I want to work on today in this class, going over these 3 keys to conquering your fears, helping you to identify the fears right now that are holding you back, maybe where you need more support, and understanding what actions you can take so that fears, whether they're your own or the world's projecting on you, you get to let them go. So in the email you received with access to this call, I asked you the question, what fear is holding you back? So that's what I want to know. And with those of you who are live with me on the call, feel free to post in the chat right now and let me know what are these fears that are coming up for you. And I also have some examples, right? There's so many different ways we can live, breathe, talk, experience fear. And there's a duality to fear, and it shows up on both sides of the spectrum. So for example, there might be a fear that you're not good enough. But on the flip side, maybe you don't fear that, but you fear that you're too good, or you've been playing small, right? Maybe you've been holding back because you're afraid to play bigger. But then there are some who fear that they're already too big and they would rather play small. So we can have this duality of flipping our fears. Some people are afraid of failure, whereas some are really afraid of the success and then the perception others may have about them. So when I had clients in the accounting and financial industry, they might hit a ceiling, they might hit this limit on how successful they could be in business because maybe they had underlying money beliefs that were money is greedy. And therefore, if I have success and I accumulate or earn all of this money, I'm going to become greedy. And people are going to perceive me that way and view me differently. We can be afraid that we're different. But when we start to trust that we already know we are different, why be afraid of that, right? We actually harm ourselves and the world by not sharing our gifts. And so again, if any of you want to post some other fears that you're experiencing in the moment, you can post them now, you can post them throughout. Maybe as we continue this talk and conversation, fears start to come through, maybe ones that you hadn't consciously been aware of. And those are the fears that I really want you to just bring awareness to, because the more you are aware, that's how we can start to shift the fear. So financial, being in debt for the first time in my life. I've always been a risk taker. I know I need to make changes and move forward without getting into the hows about it working out and not having the energy as a 5/1 projector who got burned out in corporate America. That's huge. We can fear what we've already experienced, and that's where fear of the past comes into play. Maybe something's already happened in your life, and now you've created this belief that it's going to happen again and again and again. And so we can move into wanting to avoid ever having to experience that, but we never know if it's really going to happen the same way. And in the same regard, the other side is being afraid of the future. intuition is part of trusting your knowingness, trusting who you are. And the more you trust, the more you actually know. And sometimes we're afraid of that unknown. We're afraid of what's going to happen. And what if we get it wrong? And what if we don't really know what it means? And people judge us for that. I stay small and then I'm frustrated about it. I think my fear is about concern that what I'm doing won't be enough, won't make a big enough difference, won't be worth it. Those are great examples of fear. So yes, I'm afraid I'm staying small. And that, here's the thing, there's this big purpose inside of me, and I'm afraid that it won't get out, right? I'm afraid it's going to stay stuck inside of me and I'm going to die, and I never got it out. And so the dream is to get it out, but the fear is still alive and well unconsciously, right? It's still going to want to hold you back because it's like, I don't know how, right? And then we can get in our head about that and get confused and think that we have to lay out this big, beautiful, grand plan, when trust and honoring the universe and each other can actually play into that. Fear of not being seen and recognizing when invitations are meant for me from another projector. Yes, we can feel this fear of being invisible, like we're in the world, yet nobody sees you and nobody hears you. And I know that fear very well, having a projector design with an undefined throat, and have lived that. And I've really had to shift and recognize my value, and that not everybody's here to see me, and that's okay. And I'm a generator, but I don't really know what that means. That's okay. We're going to dance more in the fear and the energies of this, and not go too deep into human design today. But knowing your type is a start as well when you're first learning human design. And ultimately, that means as a generator, you're here to respond to the universe. So in the way of fear and thinking, I need to get out there and make a big difference, you don't want to get out there and initiate. You're actually here to respond to whatever shows up for you first. And that's what lays the breadcrumbs down the path to you getting big, playing big, and letting that purpose come out of you. So today, what you're going to gain is the clarity on knowing what fear really is, and then how it does show up in human design. We're going to look at the spleen and the fear gates. Confidence in the fear you feel, and knowing how to deal with it when it's happening. Just to start bringing awareness and understanding to what's actually going on the various levels within you. And then certainty about how to trust and get the support you need to conquer your fears. So the goal is to really allow these current fears to be transformed. And we want to transform them into trust, love, and higher consciousness. Because as we each individually evolve consciously, so too is the world around us. Humanity is evolving. And the key is to let fear go, because fear is what's keeping us stuck in kind of these old ways. And the more that you individually release, the more we're showing others how to do that, to do the same. And that's the gift, right? That's the goal, is to help each other and to support each other, love each other, trust. So this first key is recognize the fear. So I'm going to kind of go into it, and then I'll recap a little bit about what I mean here. So when we're talking about recognizing fear, we have to understand what fear is. It's in the moment. Fear is one of those gut instinctive survival mechanism tools that were created within humanity. It's not meant to be chronic. Right? You're not meant to live in fear. You're not meant to feel it every single moment of your life. Yet we've shifted into that way of living. So it's not meant to control you. It's not meant to dictate what you do in your life. It's meant to simply be there as this way of keeping you safe, helping you survive. And unfortunately, we've turned it into this chronic pain almost of leaning into fear every moment and following fear and having it hold us back and keep us kind of in that lower vibrational state. It's a toxic energy, really. It's meant to be quick and help you shift and run, or to survive and get out of whatever situation and to protect you. But when we live there, it's not doing you any justice. It's not doing the world any good service. And so it's meant to be this teaching tool. So you feel it, even just a little. Maybe you get butterflies as you're walking into a room, you get a little nervous. That's okay. It's a brand new situation. We're not always used to brand new, right? We can get stuck in our ways, and we may like consistency or stability. And change is already something that ruffles those feathers, and that's where fear can step in. But it's also to help you see what else is possible, so that if you're afraid of this, but you know right on the other side is all of this possibility, you get to just open the door and step through and really feel it, acknowledge it, and let yourself move through it. So again, what are your fears? And what are the fears? Because I want to break it down, because there's so many different ways of experiencing fear. But what are the fears you think? When we get lost in our head, this is where I always give the example of we play ping pong all day of, well, I could do that, but I can't do that. And I can do this, this, this. And we go back and forth. And in human design, we know nobody's here to make decisions using the head or the ajna, right? We don't use our brain in that way, even though that's what we've been told we should do. We want to drop in and feel. So for generator types, your sacral is your GPS system that guides you to feel fear. You can ask yourself yes, no questions to know, am I afraid right now? Do I want to do this? And if you still want to do it, even though you know the fear's there, you're ready. You're ready to go. It just told you, let's do this. But if there are parts of you that say, no, I'm not ready, then you can hold back. Now for projectors, it's more on that side of, does this bring you more joy? And does it feel expansive and energetic and something that's really yummy and you just really want to melt into it? Then yes, go for it. If you know on the other side it's going to be sustainable and fun and all of these really good things, then that's something you want to lean into, and you're going to want to kind of push through the fear. So besides the thoughts that are brewing and spewing all over the place, what is it you feel internally? So let's look inward first and understand, what are the fears you're feeling physically? And we'll go into some physical symptoms of what that also looks like. But this is a way for you to just start noticing when you're afraid, what does your body do? And what is it that you're feeling? Emotionally, what are you feeling? Maybe it's triggering all kinds of lumps in your throat and not being able to express. Maybe you're starting to feel emotionally exhausted, drained, angry, frustrated, whatever that may look like. Spiritually, maybe there's a part of you that knows that you're here to be trusting, but you're not. And there's so much more, right? For that example of, I know there's this big purpose in me, that's a lot of your spiritual side. That's what's tapping on you. That's what you're feeling, is you're being called to step into your powerful shoes and wear them and get out there. But there's other parts of you that are in conflict. Now, the other side is the external pressure, like the external that comes in, that I know I can feel from the world around me because I kind of take in other people's fear energy. But externally, what are the financial fears? And what do those look like? What are you feeling? Are you scared about not making enough money, or wanting to start a business and not thinking that it's possible? And all these what ifs and all these fears get in the way of, what if I don't have a steady paycheck and then I can't pay the bills and I can't support my family? All of that rabbit hole, right? All just comes right through. But as soon as you have that awareness, now you have more understanding of what's really the deeper underlying root and what's going on. What is it you're picking up from your relationships? Externally, who are you around? Are you around people who are spreading their fears, projecting them out, and you're feeling them? Maybe they're not really your fears to start with. And that happens even when you were a child, mom and dad may have been afraid and had conversations, and you could take in that energy, and suddenly it became part of you, part of your mental beliefs and the way that you processed and took action or lack of taking action. And then what are all the fears you feel in the world, right? It's a scary place. The news projects really shitty, scary topics all the time. More and more, there's an occasional good story, right? But if the fear that comes through those particular mediums, through the paper or through TV or social media, you have the choice to take yourself out of that and to remove and go find good. Go make good happen. Go explore what it is that you don't want to have happen anymore in the world. What is it you want to change? And that's what this fear is showing you, right? Remember, I mentioned the possibility. It's showing you this possibility of, if you don't like that the world could be negative and it's destroying the earth or it's harming each other, then what are the things that we can do to align ourselves and our purpose to shift that? So if there's this big calling and you know that you really want to help the planet in some way, then maybe that sparks the creativity and the energy for you to go become more active in some sort of support group or create something that's not even there. And that's what manifestors are really good at, right? Manifestors, you're going to take your fears and you're going to be able to go initiate and create that which will undo what you're seeing and what you're not okay with. That's how you initiate us to begin to step in and take action and follow your lead. And then the reflectors are going to be the barometer. They're going to be the mirror for us to recognize where we're healthy, where we're doing okay, where we're still fearful. And so reflectors are great to really gauge, are they in fear? Are they okay? Because if they're not, they're the indicator of where the world is. And so I know I had mentioned the generators and the projectors a little earlier, but I wanted to make sure that I also touched on the manifestors and reflectors so we can really get this beautiful big picture of how the puzzle works and how each of you fit into this design and how we need you to be able to trust and love and create from this higher consciousness to affect change and help each other to really do the same. I want you to notice when the fears show up. So when you're in fear, what were you doing? What happened? Were you just watching TV and you saw a news clip, or you were reading something, or were on social media and you were checking feeds and you saw something, all of a sudden you had this moment of fear? We have big, let's just say, natural disasters or terrorist events or big collective events like that usually cause us to go inward and almost fear immediately. Are my kids okay? Are my family okay? Is my friends okay? And we have check-ins now on social media to help everyone know that I'm okay. But even when we don't have somebody near, we still collectively fear that, oh my gosh, what if this just affected me? What if it affected someone I love? So notice what those triggers are. Notice what was going on around you. You know, you could be at a restaurant and have something happen. Maybe there's even just a conflict between two patrons, like a couple, and maybe they are crying or something happens. And maybe it triggers something. There's a fear that you can feel, or you've lived through that. Maybe you've had a similar experience and all of a sudden you're right back there thinking, oh my gosh, what if this is going to happen to me right now? What if they're going to break up with me? Or what if they're going to tell me some awful news? You never know. But that's how our memory can work. And it can throw us back in time and then have us react in the moment to something that actually isn't really happening the way we think it is. And that's part of where these patterns can show up. So when you can start to notice what's your common fear pattern, What's the same thing that happens over and over and over? This is how you begin to really gain more awareness of your subconscious and what it's holding on to, and what kind of, I like to say, Grand Canyon it's created in the way of you reacting, and fear totally kind of coming up for you, flaring up in such a way that you now are reacting to it. What do fears feel like in your body? Now, this really is, when we're in fear, we're activating fight or flight. So that sympathetic nervous system is active. And this is where there's typical signs. But I want you to go in and start to really have awareness around what your body flares up and shows you as a symptom. So when you're in fear, right, it could be right in the heart of the moment. It could even be when you're just mundanely driving and your mind wanders and all of a sudden you're like, oh, but I don't know if I can do that, right? A fear just pops up. So just notice, what do you feel in your body? And I've listed, some of the typical fight or flight type of responses of heart racing, or maybe your stomach kind of knots up, or you just feel like it drops like you're on a roller coaster. You're sweating. You could be cold and clammy because of your sweating, and maybe your muscles are tight. Like all of a sudden you realize you're driving the car and your knuckles are practically white because you're gripping it so tightly. Maybe you're kind of getting dizzy and lightheaded. Vision could start to kind of narrow. There just may be some stress, and maybe you're even apathetic. Like if you don't feel like taking action or doing anything, you just want to go lay on the couch and rest. Or maybe your body is in shock. When fear hits you, there are going to be feelings. Maybe there's even a signal of pain, something very specific. Maybe your arm starts to hurt. And maybe you really didn't know that pain had been there. It's been there. It's been tapping for a while. Or maybe it's been there a really long time. But when you're in fear, just notice, because it may give you an indication of why that pain has been there for so long. And it's trying to get out. It's trying to show you. And it wants you to understand it so that way you can begin to shift it. So let's identify fear in human design. And in human design, we have the 9 centers. And I really want you to understand and see how fear is a separate energy. We look at the spleen separately over here, this left triangle. However, it still is an influence. It's still going to influence all of the chart. It's going to influence all of the other centers and energies. And so in the way of the head, this pressure center, it's going to influence the thoughts you think. It's going to kind of spark some fearful thoughts. Maybe suddenly you're thinking of, and you have inspiration, but the fear is going to hold you back. And the ajna is this awareness of how certain you think you are, but the fear steps in and suddenly you're not really certain. You're unsure of yourself. You're doubting yourself and starting to doubt everything, and you just get lost in it, right? It starts to get muddled. The throat is your ability to communicate effectively. But if you're fearful of speaking your truth and being authentic and standing out from the crowd and being different, or whatever it may be in the way of speaking up, maybe you're holding back because you're too afraid. You're scared they won't like you. You're scared that they're not going to understand or get you or really hear what you're trying to get out. With the identity, it comes down to that lovability piece and who you are. And if you're afraid that people aren't going to love you, you're not going to put yourself out there. And you're always going to be fearful that you're so different that no one can love you. And fear can just really come in and muddy the waters and having you feel all this energy that's not true. And that's actually in a lower expression than what you're designed to feel and be. When we look at the will center, this is willpower. And you have the willpower to take action, but if you're apathetic and you're in fear and you're stuck and you've been pushing, and maybe you don't have anything left, right? Fear is stalling you. It is holding you back from really getting out there and using your energy to create more value and be of service. This is the fear center, the spleen, and it's that instinct in the moment. So yes, it is survival based. It's about the immune system. It is about time and having that sense, but it's what can kind of just continue to leach out into these other energies. The sacral, your work in the world. Maybe you're afraid to really show what you're capable of because you've played it safe, you've played it easy, you didn't want to muddy the waters and stir things up and go against the grain. You just wanted to do your work and go home. But maybe there are some really amazing things that you could be doing energetically and with yourself and helping the world to create that you're letting fear hold you back. The emotional energy. This is what I love about human design because we look at fear separate from emotions, but how is fear triggering those emotional responses where you're immediately sad or angry or frustrated or whatever it may be when fear kind of jumps in. And then lastly, the root is the pressure to take action. And if you're living in fear, there's probably not a lot of action being taken, right? It's like fear is there and it's stopping you, and it never feels like it's the right time to move forward or create or do any of that. I'm going to pause real quick because I know someone had posted their fears. So fear of exhaustion, illness, disability, isolation, which are all my current life. Poverty, which is part in the past and part now. Fear of the purpose I feel the power of, but has no shape or focus. Fear of it expressing, fear of it dying from never being expressed. Terror of the past, abuse and trauma. Terror that I will simply recreate the past. Thank you for sharing. And this is where fear is something we all feel, and we think we're alone, and we're not. And we've all had different experiences of fear, and that's why we always think no one's going to relate. And sometimes they can't quite. But by bringing awareness for yourself, you get to start to change it and transform it, and then use it to empower others to come out and share their fear and overcome it. So the spleen center, as I mentioned, this is intuition. This is survival instinct and timing, and it's all about the health of the body. This is where the physical and the immune system really lives here. And I want you to know it's that awareness in the moment. It's like that whisper. You know, you could be somewhere and suddenly you get this like nudge that you need to leave. And when you listen, you leave. And maybe something happened and you were safe. But when you listen in the moment, you don't have to trigger all the body responses. You don't have to suddenly go, oh my gosh, I don't know why, but we got to go. You can still be calm. You can still have that awareness, and you can still listen, trust, and walk out. Or, you know, maybe it's something that's a little bit more riled up and you're in a center and there's all these people and you're being exited, right? There's that part of us that wants to just run and cause chaos. But it's listening to exactly what the whisper was. And sometimes we don't hear it, but the more you listen for it, it will get louder and you'll be able to tune into that. So the fear gates, I wanted to touch on the transiting energies. The sun is constantly moving, right? Every single day, it's in a different position, a little slightly different within a gate, or maybe it's moving on to a different gate energy that we look at in human design. So there's the 64 hexagrams, these different gates. And what's fascinating is by design, fear transits in this order all at one time. So it starts in Libra, which it actually starts on September 27th in the houses of Libra and in the houses of Scorpio. We shift through these 7 gates, and it's all at the same time every year. So for approximately 6 weeks, we feel these fear energies. So the gate 18 is the first gate, and that's over here. That's the fear of imperfection. So this is where we can be afraid we're not perfect. And that fear literally runs through for 5 or 6 days starting in September on the 27th. When we move from that energy, we dive straight into the 48, which is all about feeling inadequate and having that fear of that inadequacy. The gate 57 is the fear of the future. The gate 32 is fear of failing, or fear of like failure on that big scale, that you're just going to fail. Whereas the gate 50 is more tied to failing others, or failing your responsibility, or letting people down, and having those fears that come up. The gate 28 is the fear of life not having any meaning, or maybe that it's going to be hard, maybe has to do with struggle. And then the gate 44 is fear of the past. So kind of to some of the examples given, I've experienced this before, and that keeps coming up, the fear of what if it comes again? What if this happens to me? So all of these fears we can feel within our chart. Now, even if you have this colored in or not, we have all parts of the chart. We feel these energies. So if you have the gate 48, let's just say, colored in, red or black or both, that's something you consistently feel. If you have it white, it means that's what you can really feel from the world around you. And when these energies are transiting, they really can come in and have a bigger impact on the whole world. And so just notice in these months, from September 27th through November 5th, just notice, right? Like, now that we have this awareness, let's just see what happens out in the world. What is the newspaper posting? What's all over social media? What kind of big fears are coming out and people are afraid of, and things are happening and it's holding you back? And the more awareness you have, the more you get to shift it, right? So it doesn't have this control over you like it used to. So to recap for this key, recognize the fear you are feeling. And I want you to notice what the fear is that's showing up and how it feels in your body. And then you can understand fear within human design by just, understanding your particular fear gates. You have the spleen defined or undefined, and how does that play into what your conditioning field may have been? If you have it undefined like I do, you've been taking in other spheres your whole life. And sometimes you didn't realize they weren't yours. Or maybe you have the definition, the colored in spleen center. There's that level of, remember, you are putting energy out into the world. What are your fears looking like? And what are the ones that people can feel from you that you're putting out into the world? And this is where we all get to do our part to heal ourselves and help ourselves to really move into a higher expression of fear and beginning to trust. So key 2 is face the fear. And this is what we usually don't want to do, right? I'm afraid. I don't want to step through the door and go, see what's on the other side. I don't know what's on the other side. I'm too scared to go and do that. And I want you to know that fear does have a purpose, because for most of our human form, our race has had it to keep us safe, and it has helped us to survive. But the thing is, we've evolved since then. Physically, our DNA has evolved. We are more and more to this place where we don't have to be afraid for our survival. We need to start to let that go and help that to shift out of our way of being on this planet. And fear is one of those things that is very, very dense and heavy on Mother Earth. And it's not necessarily everywhere else in the universe. So the more that we can recognize that, when we let that go, we're going to open ourselves up to see new possibilities and have new experiences that we didn't even think possible. So the good side to fear was the survival piece. But the bad side is that it really is controlling and it's repressive. It holds you back. It's like the yin and yang, where there's both sides, and it's this piece of duality that we see everywhere in humanity and in this space on the planet. Good and bad and right and wrong. And what we're realizing is we have to really transcend all of that. And we have to transcend fear in that same way. And so we do that through trust. Trust is by far the thing that can overcome fear. And same with love. So we have to learn to switch this duality. And we've been living in fear, right? Humanity lives in fear. Its language is fear. The human force is very fearful. You see it everywhere you go in the world. Business tactics, medical tactics, food tactics, like planetary tactics, everything that we see in the media, it's fear-based. And I feel it, it pummels me and it like crushes me at times. And that's why I have to really pull away and make sure I'm not part of that, right? Let me go focus on what I do want to create more of. And that's living in trust. Trusting I can take back my own power in supporting myself. And even if that looks like being more sustainable, and for us, we got chickens. And it feels great to be able to know that we have chickens that we get to care for. We get to grow barley and put love into that and feed them this kind of almost like wheatgrass, but the barley part of it. And we get to have eggs come through. So it's just that small piece. Again, we have such a big part of our vision where we want to just change the world and we don't want to have to rely on anybody or the old ways of systems. But even when you take these little steps that make you feel good and it feels like, oh, I don't have to buy eggs at the store anymore, right? It doesn't, that part of me isn't controlled by the system. I get to take that back. That's where you begin to live in trust. And you can do your part and you can help and create and share this and help others to begin to trust. What can you do in the moment of fear? Fear hits you and we just freak out, right? We already went through all the symptoms of what happens in your body. Your heart is racing and you're sweating and you're freaking out. I want you to breathe. Just take a moment when you can. And really, the more you can learn to have this become more of your new unconscious behavior, the more you learn to calm that sympathetic nervous system and really move it into the parasympathetic, where you are calm and you are breathing, and maybe you're placing your hands on your heart or you're on your belly and you're ensuring that you're breathing into your belly and not in your chest, where you're going to have shallow breaths and you're going to hyperventilate and you're going to continue to amplify all of this stress your body's feeling. You can sit down, you can lie down. And this isn't necessarily in order, right? It's maybe you do one thing, maybe you do all of them. But the more that you can find your way of connecting to your physical, connecting to your emotional or your spiritual, whatever part of you that just needs that love, send it love. And tell yourself, you know, all these different things. I'm excited, you know, as you have those butterflies and you're ready to walk into a room you've never been in. The nervousness, your body and your mind doesn't know how to distinguish fear from excitement. So you can tap into that and say, I'm excited. I am safe. I feel safe. I can do this. I love you. I love myself. Send it love. You can close your eyes and focus on the breathing. Maybe you count, or you just give yourself something to focus on. You can use heart math techniques and really move into your heart space, because when you're in your heart and it's calm, right? That's when you know you've shifted. You're not in fear anymore. You're not in that sympathetic nervous system. You are in a different state. And that's really what the intention for this is, that when you're facing the fear, there are things you can do to help yourself. You can put your hands on your heart, send yourself love, and you can just trust. And chanting is something great to do, where you can literally chant love, 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 trust, trust, trust. Whatever it may be, that's of a higher vibrational quality that's going to help you to really calm and to feel the love, to feel the trust, and to get yourself out of fear. So with facing the fear, listen to it. Fear shows up because it has a message. What is that message telling you or showing you? Again, telling you as a whisper, showing you as a symptom within your body or outside of you, or whatever it is that you feel. Are you freaking out? If you're freaking out, you can do some of these techniques to calm yourself. But is it really life or death? Like when you can stop and ask that question, is this really life and death, right? If it was life or death, you wouldn't ask that question. You'd be following that instinct. That's what you're designed to do. But for so much of the fear in the world that we feel and we endure, it is not life or death. If your car just crashed, it's life or death. You're getting your kids or your family or whoever or yourself out of the car or doing whatever you can. But when you're walking down the street and you see someone and you're not quite sure who they are and how to trust them, it's not life or death yet. But if your instinct is already telling you, cross the street or go the other way, listen to it. But for the most part, when you're driving, when you're out and about and you just are in your head or you're at work and you're stressing out, this is where calm your immune system, right? Begin to notice the difference. Notice what it really looks like for you when you're facing the fear and what's real intense survival type fear and what's just all the rest that you can shift and begin to learn to trust. So key 3, trust you are supported. This is hard, right? We don't know how to trust, let alone do we even think about trusting that we're supported. And we forget that it starts with trusting yourself. Human design is beautiful for this piece because a lot of times you don't even know who you are. And the moment you start to see that picture and understand more and more of your unique intricacies and the design of how you respond or how you initiate or how you are recognized, you begin to trust that part of you. The crazy part is you already had that instinct of who you are, but you second guessed it and you chose to listen to the world around you instead. That's how you got off your path of trusting yourself. But it's there and you can find it again and you will find it again. It may take time, may take longer than you want, but you're rebirthing yourself in this process. So allow the time to be as long as it needs. Trust others. This is hard because of all of our fears that we already have ingrained in us. If you're afraid of the past, if you've had trauma, you've experienced abuse, you've had not really great things happen to you or really terrible things happen to you, part of you is now going to have that fear that everyone's going to be like that, and that everyone is dirty and evil and bad or going to harm you. You're learning baby steps. Maybe you don't have to start with the whole world, but you can start with a few people or begin trusting through engaging with only women or only men or only children or whatever it is that helps you to start to regain what you feel like you had lost, which was trust in humanity, trust in others. And when you can start to do this, you can start to even go past to more of that spiritual quality of trusting the universe, trusting God, trusting source, trusting Tao, trusting angels or whoever it is that is there watching over you. And the more you start to believe and trust in that, it is there for you. And you begin to see the miracles everywhere. They are there. But when we're clouded in fear, they don't exist. They're at that vibrational frequency you just can't quite see yet. But when you move past it, you begin to see. And that's the really cool part. We have to ask for support though, too. And that means support, it's always there. But if we're not asking, we're afraid that it's not there. And we're thinking it doesn't exist for us. We're not trusting it's there for us. We think it's for everybody else, but not me. Oh, it can't be there for me. But things can't show up unless you ask. And that means you also have to be willing and able to receive. So the support there, you have to be able to see or want and desire, because that already begins to shift where you are vibrationally and where you're going, what you're achieving, wanting to have more of. So since we already talked about what does fear look like in the body, let's look at what does trust look like in the body. Because when you're trusting, you are literally in this heart space where your heartbeat has slowed. You are calm. You feel comfortable, right? Like if you've ever had a really great massage, maybe you've had an amazing Reiki session or reflexology or just something that put you in such a blissful state. Maybe even it was sex or some really deep connection that you had and you just felt so safe and blissful, right? That's what trust looks like and feels like. And you're loose, right? Your shoulders are not hunched up. You're just completely relaxed and maybe limber even and confident, right? Like there's this new confidence about you because so much of the weight just fell off of you and you don't have these worries and fears anymore. And maybe before you were afraid of what would people think with who they think I am or what I look like or what I say. And now you kind of just are so carefree. You don't really give a shit. And you're going to be who you are. That's that freeness, right? Like there's a freedom here. And you can start to experience gratitude and see and feel love everywhere. And it's amazing when you get to that place of being anywhere and you just see past the physical. It's like you're really seeing into somebody's soul when you look in their eyes, or you just see the beauty in nature, or see the vibrancy that comes through the colors of the trees and the sky and the sun, or you just all of a sudden feel more vibrant and alive. That's this activation of the rest and digest part, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. That's where we want to get. Because imagine if the whole world lived in that place. Our news feeds wouldn't have all those shitty stories. They couldn't. We would all be spreading love and helping each other and living and being in this space. That's what I want more of. That's why I really want to help teach about fear and help us to just have this awareness so we can begin to shift it and create more of this trust inside of ourselves. So it's about bridging this gap, right? We want to really transform fear into trust. Fear needs to be acute. That's what it was designed for, not chronic. What we want to have more chronically occur is the trust piece, trust and love, and the emotional, the faith, right? Keeping the faith, holding the faith, having faith, and allowing fear to just be that in the moment instinct that's just there for the very, very worst case scenario. And even then, at some point, maybe we really get to shift that. And it's very, very infrequent and not occurring as often. But this is right now that duality piece I mentioned, where we've been living too much in the fear. We got to flip it and to begin living in trust. So with this piece, it's about finding the people who love, trust, and support you. And they're out there. And the more you shift vibrationally and you align with your design and you begin trusting, you're going to attract more and more of those people who do the same, who feel the same, who have your back, who love you unconditionally, who really support you, who aren't going to bombard you with fear when you tell them your big dream of, I'm going to go start a business, or I want to be a speaker, or I want to, all these big dreams, and they don't crush you like the world used to. They actually pick you up and help you get there and scream with excitement as they're excited for you, not because they're jealous of you, but because they really want you to be and do these things. And they want to support you. So surround yourself with love and support. And if you feel like that's not in your life, I want you to recognize the word yet. Not there yet. But if you want more of that, ask for more of that and allow yourself to begin to see that frequency and to call it into your life and have it. So ask for it, because that's how you begin to manifest. You have to put it out there first. You have to really know where it is you want to go and allow your energy to attract it. So just to recap these 3 keys to conquering your fear: recognize the fear, face the fear, and trust you're supported. I've got a typo there. And I want to introduce you to this What's Fear Got to Do with It Sun Activation program. I've officially launched. The program begins October 1st. And as I mentioned to you, through Libra and Scorpio season, we go through all 7 gates of the fear energies. And what I know is it's one thing to have this dialogue and conversation, and it's another to be actually experiencing the fear. So right now it's hypothetical of, oh, what are the fears that are hitting me? During this program, we're going through these fear energies as they're live. And in the example calendar that I gave you to download for September, you're going to see it's pretty sparse. We're not even in fear energy right now. But starting on the 18th, we actually have Mercury and Venus that are in the same positioning. So Mercury, Venus, and we have Mars with the sun, 4 different planetary activations are going to be flowing during this period. So from October 1st through November 19th, I have 8 weekly classes where every Tuesday we are meeting to be discussing and feeling and experiencing and healing the fears that are coming up, that are pummeling us and the world around us, and how we can begin to really follow those 3 keys, dive deeper into the human design aspect, understanding even the electromagnetics of those 7 gates, knowing how we can take these lower expressions and turn them into the higher expressions, right? You're not meant to be afraid of being inadequate. You're meant to step into having this depth of knowledge and having so much to give and share, right? The more you trust that you have enough, you do. You don't have to be in a fear state of thinking you're not good enough or you don't know enough. So we're going to dance in these fear energies, and you're going to get support. We actually have 10 classes all together, because what I realized is we can't just go through 7 fear gate energies and we say, there you go, you're all better now. We go through 3 additional gates. The gate 1, which is knowing that you are this unique contribution in the world. We also go through the gate 43, which is having breakthrough and beginning to trust this knowingness that comes through you. And then the last gate is the gate 14, which is this knowingness of these power skills you have to create resources. So what I realized is I have to carry you through the self-development quality of Scorpio. I have to get you into this more empowered state of, now that I just felt these fears and danced in them and we're conquering them, now how do I solidify that I am empowered and I am going to put myself out there and trust that all of this creativity, all of this knowledge and insight and breakthrough and these resources I'm here to create, that's here for me. So we're going to go through 10 gates over 8 weeks. So we have 8 Tuesday classes, and then there's 2 additional Thursday classes, because I had to be able to make sure that every class we're meeting right on the energy that's transiting on that day. So I have the calendar that you got for September. There's a calendar that literally lays out in that same format how the energies are playing out for the day. So you get to see the calendar and look at, oh my gosh, on this particular day, I've got 4 fear activations, or I've got one of the empowering activations on that same day. And how does that play out in your life? How is that impacting you? What is it that you need support with on these 90-minute calls where we're together? Yes, I'll have more to teach, but I really want this to be a group where you get live support and you get the coaching to help you to grow into conquering these fears. There is a support group, the Facebook group, and I've designed it by units. So if you've been in most Facebook groups, it's a nightmare with information, right? It's all over the place. So in teaching it through units, right, there's a unit specifically for the gate 18, which is that fear of imperfection. So if there's a question you have specifically or information you want, you can post it to that unit. And now we have this feed that's all about that particular gate. That way you can really go through and find information, get the support that you need while we're going through this program over those 8 weeks. There's handouts and slides for every class. I've got the activation guides, the calendar. The guide is more laid out where I tell you a little bit more about the planetary positions or how they influence these gates, how it shifts, because it's a little different what Mercury is doing versus what the sun is activating in these fear gates. So helping you to really break it down and understand more about it. And so what you're going to learn is these 7 fear gates. You're going to experience them firsthand. You're also going to go through those 3 knowing gates to really help you solidify and empower you by the end of the program. How the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars influence these energies, what fear really looks like, and how to lean into it. So I gave you pieces, but we're going to go diving deeper into the chart and understanding just fear in general. And I want more and more of you having the awareness. I want you to have the awareness, what it feels like in your body, so we can bring that up. We can talk about it. You can get whatever support you need, so it's specific to you, and pinpoint these deep fears so we can begin to transcend them, right? We want to move into trust. I want to help you to begin to trust yourself. Your intuition, it's there. Every single person on this planet is intuitive. Every energy consciousness is intuitive, right? Animals are deeply intuitive. Humans are as well. We just have learned to stifle it or shut it off, and I want you to bring that back. So you're going to also learn how to take action when it feels correct, right? Learning to trust your strategy and your authority for your human design. So if you have specific questions, kind of like today, oh, but I'm a generator, I don't know what that means. That's okay, but I want you to understand more of what fear looks like for you and how you respond to it versus you and a projector. And how the fear conditioning plays into all of this. So you can understand it and take advantage of it. You can create these strengths. So this is a program for you. Like if you're really feeling like fear has been getting in the way and you're not able to live the life you really want and you're not able to live your way, this is the program. And this is also for you if fear is keeping you stuck in bad circumstances and you're ready for change. Or like I gave the example of not feeling supported, then this is the place where you can get the loving guidance and support and community as you're going through fear. And we're all going to be feeling it. We're all going to have all these crazy entanglements that are very similar. And what better place than to come in the moment of fear and come get a community to support you and wrap you in love and help you through it. And if you're just ready to let go of fears because there's this part of you that's been feeling the energy shifts and you know, I can't live in this place anymore. Like I have to do something different. I have to let this go. Then this is your time. This is the best time, right? This is why this process of creating the program has been a timing thing. And for it to finally come, right, when I knew I have to teach this when it's live, like what better way to really integrate and transcend fear than doing it with the timing of the universe and really being in that flow. So if you're ready to transform, conquer your fears, you can go to alanaheim.com and access the sales page for this program. What is the investment? I have a defined will center. And more what I've recognized is I'm here to teach what value looks like, and I can't settle for less, right? I know what this program is worth. I can't just say, well, if you do this by this date, you get a discount. I'm kind of over that game. It feels very fear-based. It's very scarcity-based. I teach about abundance and love. And so what I realized is what value I can create for the value of $297 is this particular program. But when you register by September 26th, then I will give you these fast action taker fat bonuses. So I would rather give you more value than cut you with a lower price. So for the fat bonuses, what are those? I really wanted to give more value than that money discount. So ultimately, it came to me that how can I create and give more? Well, it came through service, love, and support. So through additional service, when you sign up by the 26th, I'm going to give you my client-only 51-question quiz. It's a money archetype quiz. I've had a very shortened version on my website as a free quiz to take, but this is the full extensive version where you get to download this spreadsheet. My clients get to use this. And so even if you are a client, you can still redo this, right? We don't just know our money beliefs and then heal them and think they're going to be the same or that we're stuck. This is where you really get to explore what it is you're having issues with financially. My intention is to give this to you so you can start to see the fears around the money piece. Because yes, in this program, we will and can go into more of the financial fear frequency that comes in that you might not even realize. The love piece is I have a $37 coupon that you can use towards one of my programs that I have on my website, or you can use it towards a 60-minute consulting session. So if there's a part of you that just knows, I need more support, I will go get this program. Or if you want the private support because there are things that you are going through and you don't want to share it with the group, then you can use that coupon to book that session. And so the 60-minute consulting session is normally $200. And so you can use the $37 coupon to be able to receive that love, that extra love. The support piece is on September 27th. I'm offering a 90-minute bonus call. So this is why I really want you to make sure that you have plenty of time for your emotional wave to decide if this is the program for you and to sign up by the 26th. That way I can ensure that you get to you can access and be on the live call on September 27th. So that's a 90-minute call where, guess what? If you took the quiz for your money beliefs and now you've got questions, you can ask about the money quiz. You can ask questions about some of the fears you've been feeling, how they're affecting your human design, how it's affecting your money. I want you to be able to have this bonus call to be able to get additional support. That's outside of the scope of what we're doing in the program, but it really can kind of bring in and tie in and allow you the Q&A to get the love and support that you need so you can begin trusting the universe that you are supported and that you have all of this. So the thing that I know is some people are like, I really want a money discount. And the only thing that I can say is I have an interview in the 2019 Heal Your Pain Expert Series. And if you have registered, then you are going to get the best available price for the program. And I've offered it only and exclusively to the listeners of that expert series. So if there's a part of you that's like, I don't care about the service and the love and the support, I just want the money discount, you can go register and make sure that you get my interview, which is coming out on the 10th of September. You have 48 hours to access. So once you get, the access, you'll get the link to be able to book, but there aren't any fat bonuses that are included for the listeners. So that's the way I kind of realized I can create this value specifically for that group. And for everybody else who pays the full price of $297, you get the extra support, the love, and the service, and you get those fat bonuses. So whatever really speaks to you, I would love to support you and give you as much love during the most intense, fearful time of 2019. So again, you can register at alanaheim.com. And I'm so grateful for you being here. Someone asked, will there be tapping? There might be, there may be, because I love bringing that up and for me, I teach kind of as the energies flow through me, whatever downloads, I know that sometimes that may be what needs to happen as we're going through each class. And if somebody's really feeling stuck and we need to just shift some of this individual, tribal, and collective energy, absolutely. We will be bringing in whatever tool or whatever way that we can connect to our subconscious, to the souls of this universe, to really help bring in more of the good karma that's going to wipe away all this bad karma and this fear, then yes, we're definitely going to be doing all of that. So I'm so grateful for you. I hope to see you in the class. And I just want to thank you again for being here. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.